And Dave, we can begin the meeting
At
according.
6:30.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been 30 minutes, so yeah, just come back in.
We'll give it one more minute to make it legal. Yell at me as a number 4 item for the recognition.
Okay.
I've got it written down, but I'm surely I'll forget. Okay, well, welcome to the weekly Lawrence City Commission meeting. The commission has been in executive session for the last 30 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and begin our meeting now. The first item on the agenda are recognitions and proclamations. And the first is to proclaim Thursday, October 30th, 2014 as Lights On After School Day. And I bet we do have representatives here this evening. Hi.
Hello. Thank you, Mayor Amix and Commissioners, for giving us a moment of your time this evening. I'm Nicole Van Velzen. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications at the Boys and Girls Club of Lawrence. And this week we are joining with after-school programs across the United States celebrating Lights On After School, an annual event highlighting the importance of keeping the lights on and kids served at after-school programs across America. After-school programs like those at the club complement kids' school experiences by providing adult mentors, equipping them for success, and giving them hope for their futures. Nationwide, we know that there are more than 15 million kids who do not have a safe place to go after school. That means that 1 in 5 students is unsupervised after the school day ends, emphasizing the need for after-school programs in the daily lives of kids in our country. In Lawrence, the Boys and Girls Club serves 1,400 young people every day at 14 sites across the community. The need for the programs the Boys and Girls Club provides, much like our counterparts nationwide, is evident in our members' increased academic achievements, community involvement, and active lifestyles. Not to mention the positive impression and incredible success our Youth of the Year candidates have experienced state and nationwide in recent years. After-school programs play critical roles in the lives of young people, their families, and their communities. We thank you all for recognizing this and joining us once again in celebrating Lights On After School. Thank you.
Well, Nicole, thank you, and thank you to everybody involved with Boys and Girls Club of Lawrence. I know it's so important to make sure that we meet the needs of all of these young kids that, you know, as we had the other day at Venture Park, you know, the things that we do are about the future for these young people's lives. And, you know, one of the things that's so important to me, and I know the members of the commission that I serve with, each and every one of these kids, one of these days is going to be eligible to have a seat right up here. And I think that is so important that we recognize the opportunity that they have and make sure that none of them get left out. And so we appreciate all of that, and I'd be proud to read the proclamation. It's a proclamation whereas the Boys and Girls Club of Lawrence has provided significant leadership in the area of community involvement in the education and well-being of our youth and is grounded in the principle and quality after-school programs are key to helping our children become successful adults. And whereas Lights On After School, a national celebration of after-school programs in October, promotes the critical importance of the quality after-school programs in the lives of children, their families, and their communities. And whereas more than 28 million children in the United States have parents who work outside the home and 15 million children who have no place to go after school. And whereas many after-school programs across the country are facing funding shortfalls so severe that they are being forced to close their doors and turn off their lights. Now, therefore, I, Mike Amix, Mayor of the City of Lawrence, Kansas, do hereby proclaim Thursday, October 30th, 2014, as Lights On After School. Congratulations, and thank you so much for all the work that you do and the great help that you provide every kid, you know, that just wants to be a part of the program. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it. And we do have a few members in the audience who'd like to present each of the commissioners with a commemorative light bulb. So
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I'm going to swap trees with you. Yeah. And thank you all for coming this evening. Next item on the agenda is to proclaim Friday, October 31st, 2014 as Halloween Trick-or-Treating Night. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Amex, Commissioners. My name is Tim Loren. I'm with the Lawrence Parks Recreation Department. And just wanted to take this opportunity to encourage the citizens of Lawrence, children and their parents to have a festive and above all, a safe Halloween.
Okay. And Tim, thank you. I'd be happy to read the proclamation, and we do want to make sure that Halloween is safe for everybody involved, and whether you're in the neighborhood and visiting your neighbors, or you're in downtown and coming door to door in the downtown, or wherever you may go, just make sure everybody's safe. So this is a proclamation, whereas the City of Lawrence Parks and Recreation Department encourages trick-or-treaters to make their Halloween trick-or-treating house calls between 6:30 and 8:30 p.m. on Friday, October 31st. And whereas homeowners are asked to turn on their porch lights during these hours to assist costumed youth. And whereas parents are encouraged to accompany children and inspect treats before they are eaten, making sure that all treats are in original packaging. And whereas trick-or-treaters should remain in familiar neighborhoods, skip houses that do not have porch lights on, wear clothes that are bright in color and not flammable, and use the sidewalks whenever venturing between the houses. And now, therefore, I, Mike Amex, Mayor of the City of Lawrence, Kansas, do hereby proclaim Friday, October 31st, 2014, between the hours of 6:30 and 8:30 p.m. to be Halloween Trick-or-Treating Night. Tim, thank you very much, and thanks for all the work that you and everybody in Parks and Rec do.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
That's it. Everybody happy? Okay. Okay, the next item is to proclaim the month of November 2014 as Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month. We have a representative here. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for hearing me tonight.
Sure.
My name is Michelle Fender, and the reason I am involved in this movement is because my husband passed away from pancreatic cancer last year in the month of April. And I became involved with the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network after that, about a year ago. And I found out that this cancer has only a 6% 5-year survival rate. And so I am now spending time trying to spread awareness so we can get people more aware about it and get more research done so those statistics can get much better, because my husband was only 34 when he passed away. And so this illness really needs to get more awareness and more research done so treatment will get better.
Okay. Well, Michelle, we're extremely sorry for your loss, and I know that's just a terrible thing to go through, but once you know that we do share your concern about the awareness that needs to happen. I think we've all families probably touched somewhere along the line with losing someone to cancer, or somebody who is affected by cancer, and pancreatic cancer. We've got a friend of mine now that is affected, and it's bad. So our deepest sympathies to you, and special thank you to you and the effort that you're putting forward to make sure that there is awareness in pancreatic cancer research, okay? Okay, whereas in 2014, an estimated 46,420 people will be diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in the United States, and 39,590 people will die from that disease. And whereas pancreatic cancer is one of the deadliest cancers, currently the 4th leading cause of cancer death in the United States. And whereas the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network is the national organization serving the pancreatic cancer community in Lawrence, Kansas, and nationwide through a comprehensive approach that includes public policy, research funding, patient services, and public awareness, and education related to developing effective treatments and a cure for pancreatic cancer. And whereas the Pancreatic Cancer Network and its affiliates in Lawrence, Kansas support those patients currently battling pancreatic cancer, as well as those who have lost their lives to the disease and are committed to nothing less than a cure. Now, therefore, I, Mike Amix, Mayor of the City of Lawrence, Kansas, do hereby proclaim the month of November 2014 as Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month in the City of Lawrence. Thank you very much, and again, our sympathies. Go ahead, Michelle. And we do have one more item, Commissioner Reardon.
I just wanted to let the citizens of Lawrence, and many know already, that one of the treasures of Lawrence in medicine was buried today, Dr. Chuck Loveland. I worked with him for over 30 years in the office, and he was an excellent physician. He was a superb clinician. He cared for the city, worked tirelessly for children. He also was very involved in the community, being in many different activities. Recently, we saw him with a group at Oiteen when they came to town, and he participated in that. He and Mary have lived here and been with professional lives and personal lives with 4 children since the early 80s or late 70s. He's been a rock for many people in this city, was loved by many. Last night, they had a wake at the Lead Center, and I stayed for an hour and a half, and it started an hour before I was there, and it lasted another hour and a half. There were several thousand people that came by to honor Chuck last night, and I just wanted to mention that this passing is very sad. He'll be missed, and he won't be able to be replaced. So the city of Lawrence has lost a treasure, but the memories are still there.
Terry, thank you. You know, our special sympathies to you losing a partner and good friend, and to Mary and the kids. And, you know, you're right. So many people, you know, my son included, Dr. Chuck. So, tough night. Anyway. Okay, thank you all very much. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. And all matters listed on the consent agenda are to be considered under one motion and will be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion on those items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Is there any item on the consent agenda a member of the commission would like to have removed for separate discussion? I'd like item number 3, the claims for vote. Is there any item on the consent agenda that a member of the public would like to have removed for separate consideration? Okay, with the exception of item number 3, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion made and second to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 3 was made by Commissioner Dever, second by Commissioner Shum.
No.
No?
Me.
Oh, Vice Mayor Farmer, I'm sorry. All in favor of that motion, aye? Aye. Opposed? That passes 5-0. Item number 3 is to approve the claims. I would entertain a motion to approve 206 claims to vendors in the amount of $6,567,470.22.
Moved.
Second.
Motion made and second for approval, made by Commissioner Shum, second by Commissioner Dever. All in favor of that motion, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 5-0. And then there are claims to 8 vendors on Rock Chalk Park related items in the amount of $1,106,383.98. Entertain a motion for approval.
Moved.
Second.
Motion made and second, made by Commissioner Dever, second by Vice Mayor Farmer. All in favor of that motion, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Mayor Amix voting in dissension. Next item is the city manager's report. Dave.
Mayor, members of the commission, we've kept you advised about our progress in regards to recycling collection. A couple of you had an opportunity this afternoon, I know Commissioner Dever had already been out to the material recovery facility, and talking with Mr. Sedlock, Vice Mayor Farmer, and Commissioner Reardon will work to get an opportunity for you to see that facility as well. So our recycling efforts are well underway. Congratulations to Chuck and to Tammy and to Kathy and a lot of that staff, a lot of hardworking crews out there, and Hams and the citizens of Lawrence for participating. There's obviously challenges in knowing what to put in the cart and when to do it and all those things, and I think we're very pleased with the public participation to date, and look forward to continuing to make this program a success. Next item is also on the sustainability theme. My response is, who knew how many trees we had? It's really kind of interesting to read that. We don't necessarily give ourselves much credit for being in a forested area, so I think it was very interesting to read. I appreciate Scott and Mary Miller and others working on that. It's good information for your review. Then finally, Scott worked on an update on 920 Missouri Street. I think the applicant may be actually looking at something a little bit different.
Correct.
On the side as well. You might just briefly explain. But we do believe that the demolition permit has been held in abeyance, so I know that was of interest to the commission.
Sure, just quickly, Mr. Keating, the owner, called me yesterday and advised that they're still looking at keeping the house, but are considering attaching the second unit just to the house in the back. Not a separate unit, a detached structure, but it would amount to a new duplex, but keep the house. And so what I advised him is give us the plan and let us share that with the commission and the public and go from there. So that's the update.
Thank you.
Be happy to respond to any questions you might have.
Any questions for Dave? Well, I know, Dave, just real quick, thank everybody for the tour this afternoon of the MRF. That was something pretty spectacular to see. I guess I didn't have any idea really what we were going to walk in and actually get to see, and to see the the technology there and the work that's being done. I think it definitely meets the goal as it was set out in the recycling program. So Chuck and Dave and everybody involved, thank everybody, because it's quite a sight to see. So anyway, okay. Anything else? Okay. We are on to the regular agenda. I would ask anybody who has a cell phone with them to silence the phone this evening, as we have a business meeting. We will accept public comment in the amount of 3 minutes each. So anyway, we'll go on to the regular agenda. The first is to conduct a public hearing on the unsafe two-story porch structure located at 608 Kentucky Street, and consider adopting resolution 7095, declaring the front porch structure to be unsafe and dangerous, and ordering the owner to complete substantial structural repairs or to initiate demolition and removal of the porch within a specified period of time. Should the property owner fail to comply, the city would contract for the removal of the structure. Kirk?
Good evening. I'm Kurt Schroeder with Planning and Development Services. On September 16th, you adopted Resolution 7093, which set tonight as a public hearing to review evidence regarding the dangerous and unsafe condition of the large two-story front porch at 608 Kentucky Street, and to also consider condemning the front porch as dangerous and unsafe. If you decide to condemn the porch, you may also order the property owner to repair or demolish the porch within a specified time. Structural failure of the porch became evident in late February 2014, and staff posted the structure as unsafe and unfit for occupancy on February 24th. On March 5th, subsequent to meeting a couple of times with the property owner, Ms. Benita Yoder, on site, staff issued a notice of emergency measures requiring her to immediately remediate unsafe porch conditions. In mid-March, Ms. Yoder did hire a contractor to temporarily shore and secure the porch and the front yard, which was completed on March 17th. Staff followed up with Ms. Yoder throughout the spring and summer as she attempted to obtain engineering analysis and bids for repair work, and to hire a contractor. Follow-up notices were issued to Ms. Yoder in April and August. Because no building permit had been applied for and no repair or demolition work had been initiated, staff pursued formal condemnation action at your September 16th City Commission meeting. In mid-September, Ms. Yoder hired Free State Framing, LLC, to conduct additional exploratory and investigative work to more fully assess structural damage to the porch. On October 13th, Free State applied for a building permit to repair the porch, including sealed structural drawings, and on October 16th, the permit was issued. During the past 10 days, Free State Framing has initiated structural repair work. As of this morning, additional temporary shoring and scaffolding has been installed, and reconstruction of the north porch column, which you see here, which is the main problem with the structure, has been completed. So about half of that column has been installed now and reconstructed. The contractor indicated today that he plans to complete all structural repairs within the next 2 to 3 weeks. And based on what he's completed in the last week or so, we think that's a realistic goal for him to achieve. Staff has prepared Resolution 7095 for your consideration after conducting the public hearing, if appropriate. That resolution declares the porch to be dangerous and unsafe and orders the property owner to substantially complete required structural repairs or to demolish the porch by December 15th, 2014. I'll be glad to stand for any questions. And Ms. Benita Yoder is here, as is her contractor, and they may want to speak to this as well. I did want to show you the temporary shoring that was installed back in March by her. This was the shoring that was actually done. These pictures were recently taken, but the shoring held up pretty well for the last 5 or 6 months. And you can see more deconstruction work there. I don't have pictures of what has gone on in the last few days, but it's been pretty substantial. You can see this north column basically was totally gone. The center of the 3 columns was kind of buckling, and the contractor will be repairing that as he does more deconstruction work as needed.
Okay.
That shoring was done in March,
Yes, that's
and
correct.
the shoring was adequate for the structure. It seemed to indicate afterwards that it wasn't adequate. I'm confused.
Well, this shoring that you see here was what was installed in March, and it was intended to be temporary. It was like supported on the steps and in the yard. We did check it every couple of weeks and make sure it was holding up well. And it kind of did its job pretty well over the last 5 or 6 months, but this needs to be totally repaired and redone. This isn't going to last forever.
So it was, with the shoring, it was a safe structure at that time?
Yes, it was not in danger of collapse at that point.
Okay.
Okay. Other questions of staff? Okay, thanks, Kurt. At this time, I will open the public hearing. And the applicant is here, or the property owner. Benita, how are you?
Good. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Benita Yoder, 608 Kentucky. I think your question hit on the point I wanted to make, that with the temporary shoring in March, around mid-March, I don't believe that it was an unsafe structure at that point when this process was initiated on September 16. And my request would be that the City Commission continue the hearing at least another month, 4 to 6 to 8 weeks, and then provided the structural repairs that are being made right now are completed, that then the matter be dismissed. And on an aside, as I know the mayor knows, last spring I broke a foot, and then I subsequently fell on crutches, and I broke my left ankle, and then I subsequently fell on crutches and broke my right wrist out of state, and I was laid up for some time, for 5 weeks out of state, and then came back. And on a tangential matter, I'd love to give feedback on the city's paratransit system sometime, because I was using that for a couple of months. And perhaps should come down and give a few comments on that. I'd love to see them add Sunday service, which is unrelated to this, but I do ask that the city continue the hearing, and especially with the repairs underway, and given that I contend that the structure was not unsafe on September 16, as Mr. Schroeder had said, the temporary shoring seemed to be holding up.
Okay. Questions of Benita? Yeah, Bob?
Ms. Yoder, I ask you a question, please.
Yes,
You're
Mr.
asking that we continue as either 4, 6, or 8 weeks so you can complete the work that needs to be done. Does that include all the cosmetic? Are you going to repair that to a finished surface in front? It's kind of an eyesore now, of course.
The material that's being put on is, I guess, what they call weather resistant, according to the contractor. The plan is to add stucco. I don't know what the weather will be like, and I don't know if, I'm not saying that 4 weeks will be sufficient to get stucco added. Certainly the roof on the top should be placed on the porch. I would say if you could continue to 8 weeks, probably take care of that. I don't have an exact time frame on the stucco portion.
That is.
But regardless-
That's weather-related, you're right.
What's that?
I said that is weather-related,
Yes.
if it's too cold.
Yeah.
And the material that's being put on, come up, I don't know, it's some kind of product that they call weather resistant. So I don't see that being a structural issue in terms of, I mean, if you're having cosmetic concerns, that's a separate issue from structural, which would be the basis for your action and resolution.
Well, for me personally, I'd like to see it look nice.
I would too. I
I'd like to see
agree.
the structural problem taken care of, and I'd like to see it repaired.
I totally agree.
I did get a number of calls on that when we were talking about rental licensing, and the theme was, you've got this going on right underneath your nose, and you're trying to put your nose in somebody else's business to find out what else is wrong. So it's kind of embarrassing to have that thrown back at us, so I'd like to see that get taken care of.
I understand that. And from a purely technical, legal thing, cosmetic is not a basis for passing a resolution. And I appreciate that. I mean, it's close to downtown city, and I appreciate your concern and share that.
I guess my point is, I feel like I'd like to work with you if you'd like to work with us.
I would,
Okay, good.
yeah. I was a little indisposed for a little bit there, but I'm back kind of on the mend now, so.
Thanks, Benita. Other public comment? Any other public comment on this item? Entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move. Second.
Motion made and second to close the public hearing, made by Commissioner Shum, second by Vice Mayor Farmer. All in favor of that motion, aye? Aye. Opposed, public hearing is closed. The item before us is to adopt resolution number 7095. Continuation of this hearing, things go along with no deadline, is that correct? If we just continue without adopting the resolution, or?
That's correct.
Okay. The one thing that 7095 does is give us date specific as to when things need to be done. We can adjust it if we see general progress done, acceptable to inspectors, correct?
Certainly. And that resolution is talking about the structural repairs, so
Right.
it really didn't speak to the finish work on the column and that kind of thing.
Okay.
So we do think that could be completed pretty soon.
Okay.
I've got a question for staff, as long as we're... Is there not, can blight be connected with this structural part of it to require a finished product at the end of the work period?
The minimum property maintenance code could do that. I don't think that state law would allow us to necessarily connect that. It is about dangerous and unsafe structures or failing structures.
Would the finish that's on the outside, once it's termed to be safe and no longer dangerous, somebody, it needs to be painted or stuccoed or whatever the finished product's going to be, that is something that it takes a totally separate action? Is that something that's done through rental registration or whatever?
Well, this property's vacant, but we could pursue it. We have issued notices on the violations, so we could pursue it through our property maintenance code as a housing code problem that way, and take that avenue to get it
Okay.
finished as well.
Well, Bob, I do appreciate, I appreciate the comment, but the action here tonight is to deal with the unsafe and dangerous part of this thing. And I think that that is the part that we ought to deal with. If there's something at the end of this and we look at, the timing, we get 6 or 8 weeks out, we could be in the middle of a snowstorm or freezing rain and freezing weather, and you got to have at least temperature somehow to be able to get, that stucco to adhere to that surface. So I say that let's deal with, 7095, and then we'll deal with the finish at another date.
Well, I wouldn't be opposed to asking the applicant one more time if for an extension if she wouldn't agree to a complete finished job. And that thing has been like that for a long time.
Hold on, time out.
Okay.
What are you asking? To continue the hearing with a complete?
Well, we would
with the
continue the hearing with the agreement that the applicant would finish the job in total, not just leave it as raw wood or weather permitting.
Weather permitting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm interested in seeing the thing get fixed.
Mayor, I would agree in the fact that I think this is the time to ask the applicant that if we work together with this and allow this to continue, that now's the time to ask the applicant if she will finish this and have a finished structure that looks consistent with the rest of the building within a reasonable period of time with weather permitting.
That is the intention. The weather permitting is going to be the key. And the material that is going on is, I understand, will be a kind of a pre-primed white material, so even until it's stuccoed,
EIFS or stucco?
Okay, wait a minute. You need to come up to the microphone. I'm sorry.
The product is not a finished product, but will protect the structural framing even through the winter if necessary. It won't be a Tyvek that would be loose and flap in the wind. It'll be a solid structure, but it's not a finished product.
I guess I don't
Commissioner
understand.
Dever has a question.
Are you gonna put up actual stucco or EIFS?
No, it's like an OSB product that has a membrane on the outside, and you tape all the seams.
I mean the finished product, what are you gonna,
oh, the finished product, the plan for that is to be stucco. But what we're talking about is the
Yeah, I
product
understand.
that go on the outside of the column in the interim until the stucco will be done, weather permitting. So even that product will look much better than
right?
what it has been, because as I said, there won't be anything loose or dangling in the wind or,
Yeah. You
No,
can't apply
falling.
stucco if it's 32
Well,
degrees
yeah.
ever, so.
Okay.
yeah, but
32 degrees.
stucco, you do have to have a certain temperature for that to adhere.
You had a question, Terry? Or did that answer?
That answered it.
Okay.
I've got one more
Sir, could
question.
we have your name for the record?
Kevin Edwards?
Okay, thank you. Bob?
How, Kevin, I presume you're the contractor.
Yeah.
How long will it take you to stucco that? Just stucco it after it's complete?
I'm not doing any of the stucco work. I'm strictly doing the structural repairs.
Do you know the answer to that?
I do not. Still looking for a stucco person. The one that I know of lives around 11th or 12th in Rhode Island, but I'm told he does hand stucco and I should have somebody with a machine. And so I put a call into Midway Wholesale and they say they're not allowed to give out names, but I have a call into a couple of masonry people to see, like Keith Middle, that's a Dick Hamill, to see if they can refer someone for a specific stucco. So I don't have a contract signed yet on the stucco.
Okay. So,
They use drive-it more often in this part of the country, you know, than stucco's more of a Southwest product, but,
okay. So Bob, back to your original question of Ms. Yoder about finishing that product as part of continuation of this deal.
Yeah, I mean, I still think we do it. If we come back in 6 weeks or 8 weeks and it's not done, then, and the weather's been nasty, we'll know that that was a reasonable excuse. If the weather's been good and it's not done, then, you know, we move on, just get it done, whatever it takes. But I think in the spirit of things, that with us trying to accommodate you for 8 more weeks, that job's not that big a deal. That could get done, unless you have ice all the way through from now till 8 weeks, but probably you won't at this time of the year. So I think you have the opportunity to get it done. I've done some building myself, and that doesn't look like that is that big a job. It looks like
No.
it could easily be done in 8 weeks.
I would appreciate any stucco referrals off the record afterwards, if anybody knows of any.
Oh, they're out there, you can find them.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Juanita, would you be able to come back and just let someone know from the city if you've had the ability to get a contractor to
Oh,
do
sure.
the stucco in a couple weeks?
I could come back here, or if it's sufficient, rather than take up your time, I can communicate with Mr. Schroeder.
I think Mr. Schroeder would be fine.
Yeah, we've been in email and phone, and we don't really have a lot of trouble finding each other, so I don't have any problem keeping in touch. city on that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Bob, is it your suggestion, what your suggestion is not approving 7095 and just to continue this with the understanding that Ms. Yoder is going to finish this project, or go ahead and approve it, a 7095 to get the finished project done and weather permitting, which would 7095 and get everything done, and it doesn't include it, or just to continue without adoption of the resolution?
Is the date of the resolution, that's today's date?
December 15th.
December 15th, so that's November, December 15th is
7
good.
weeks.
That's 6 weeks. I mean, let's see where we're at in 6 weeks. I don't want to let this thing go any longer than, I just say, give them 6 weeks.
How about the end of the year, would that be?
Well, let's just say December 15th.
December 15th.
That way we don't have to redo the resolution.
Okay? Okay.
It's pretty obvious, too. You can drive down the street and see what's happening, so, yeah.
Okay.
Do it down here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioners. Mayor.
Okay, so then the action that is before us is to adopt resolution number 7095. Is that what we're going to do?
7093.
No, we adopted that.
7093 has
Oh, okay.
already
Beg
been
your pardon,
approved.
beg your pardon.
7095 is the one that is before us,
Correct.
with the date of December 15th, and that is for the finished project, weather permitting, correct?
Yeah. I'll move that.
Second.
Dave, can we add that language, weather permitting for a completed project would include, the painting and all the necessary stuff?
Understand that? Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
we'll do that with the resolution.
Okay,
So
so
you're approving it rather than continuing it? Or-
we are approving the resolution with the idea that we'll look at it again in 6 weeks, see where you are, weather
Okay.
permitting, okay?
You see what?
Okay. So, resolution number 7095, I would entertain a motion for approval with the change of adding, weather permitting and a completed job, okay?
Moved.
Second.
Okay, motion made and second for approval, made by Commissioner Shum, second by Commissioner Reardon. Any other questions or comments? All in favor of that motion, aye?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, passes 5-0. Thank you, and we'll see you in 6 weeks, hopefully not, though. Okay, good luck,
Mike, can I ask the staff a question?
please.
If the applicant fails to complete the work, at what point does the city take it over and charge it against the property tax? Or does this resolution provide for that action?
This resolution provides you with that, with that authority. But, that's going to take some time.
Right.
I mean, we would have to work with the property owner, and if we can't work with the property owner, we got to go to court, and, it takes some time.
Right now, we're believing in the property owner that this project's going to be done in the next several weeks, and weather permitting, all of it's going to be done. Bonita, thank you.
Thank you. I do reserve that I might challenge your finding of the resolution versus continuing it, because I do think that on September 16, the basis for the property being structurally unsafe was not present. And so just so that you know that.
The good news is that it looks like we're on to a successful resolution.
Yes.
Our disagreement on that won't necessarily matter.
Yeah, and it
Thanks.
helps being able to,
Next item on the agenda is to consider adoption of resolution number 7096. It was corrected today, and providing that the city shall offset all of the cost of acquiring the Hallmark site for a police facility by the sale of surplus real estate within its inventory. David?
Mayor and Commissioners, last week, you asked that we put together a resolution that sets out your intent in regards to this matter. You'll see the draft that Tony and I worked on. It sets out a recognition of what the question is before the voters. We have a letter of intent with Hallmark cards to purchase the property that we desire to offset. Some of it offset our purchase price with the selling of surplus property that includes the existing investigations and training center, surplus acres of the Hallmark property. We also added the version that you had also seen earlier, that it would also be the city's share of the judicial law enforcement building upon our vacation of that facility. Obviously, those things only happen if we are successful with the election next week, That then does trigger the closing of the property with Hallmark. Then we proceed with design and construction. Then we'll be working on selling the ITC, negotiating with the county that when we are able to vacate, compensation back to the city, selling the surplus property at the Hallmark site, and other city surplus property as well. That then allows us to recoup the purchase price for the Hallmark property. Be happy to respond to any questions that you might have.
Questions of staff? Well, one of the things that Commissioner Dever said last week, and I think is important to understand, and, you know, and after the comments that we had, is that following, what was it, the 1995 core vote, and also during the time that you worked with the education process of the sales tax with the public transportation system, and also with the infrastructure sales tax, it's anything that we can make as clear and concise as we possibly can, you know, helps with the education process. And I think, you know, this does that. And, you know, that there can't be a question as of the intent of the governing body. So I think that that's fine. Any questions of staff? Okay. Any public comment on this item?
Dan Dannenberg, 2702 University Drive. Just more of a question, I guess, than a comment. What is Hallmark's basis for this property? How much did they pay for it?
Dan, I have no idea. Dave?
I do not know the answer to that question. I do know that Hallmark has acquired the property there at the plant site and around the plant site since they have been at that location, which comes from the 1950s. With the turnpike, they desired to have buffer property. They donated 20 acres of the property there to the city. That was probably 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago, there at North Iowa and Peterson. They subsequently have started to sell the remaining buffer tracts there south of the plant site, and then the property on the east side of McDonald Drive has been on the market for probably a couple of years. So I don't know their cost basis.
Well, I think that's important information, particularly with the a vote coming up, because we need to know as citizens what Hallmark paid for it and what the city is being asked to pay for it, in case the resolution passes or it passes, so we know what's involved here. Is this starts to, just to be blunt about it, this looks like to be a bailout for Hallmark, because maybe they, you know, they bought some property and they said, well, gosh, you know, we've got to get rid of this because we don't have any use for this. So,
Dan, just to tell you, Hallmark has been a very good corporate partner in this community. You know, the donation of the land for, you know, the park, you know, at the location out there next to the site. I mean, you know, those kind of things just don't happen. I mean, those are nice gifts to this community. They provided great jobs for a whole lot of people through this community since, as Dave said, the 1950s. Do we have the answer for the basis of the price that they have in it? Absolutely not. We can give the price that we're willing to pay for the property, assuming that the vote passes with the right amount of education that everybody is going to be, you know, that can get any place that they want to get it from, okay?
We also have, Mayor, the independent appraisal of the property that
Absolutely.
shows that it was more valuable than the contract price that we have with the property as well. So we've got an independent appraiser that follows all the usual rules to value property, and that's usually the best basis for acquiring property, is to have an independent appraisal, somebody that is completely disinterested in the property, follow all of their rules, look at comparables. Came in at $2.6 million for the 47 acres. So it's more than what we are going to pay for the property if we're successful with
what's the
referendum.
price?
well, I have one final question.
Okay.
Has Hallmark received tax incentives or abatements since it's been here in town?
They, not to my knowledge, I've been with the city for 24 years, they have never received a tax abatement or any type of incentive. I'm not aware of anything prior to that as well, so no, they haven't, to my knowledge.
Okay.
Thank you. Other public comment? Okay, back to the commission. Mike, just a question of you, does this answer questions that you raised last week?
I think so. I would like everybody else's opinion, but I think it's pretty straightforward. There's questions about the process and how we're going to pay for the land and how we're going to keep this under budget in fiscally conservative fashion, and I think this helps do that.
All right, okay. Other comments?
Looks good.
Yeah, I think, you know, I share your concern about that, but I think that this does exactly what we wanted to do. You know, it spells out very clear, you know, the intentions of this governing body.
Good.
Okay.
Well, I feel the same way.
Okay. Nothing else on that. I would entertain a motion for adoption of resolution number 7096.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second for adoption made by Commissioner Reardon, second by Vice Mayor Farmer. All in favor of that motion, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 5-0. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is general public comment. Is there any general public comment this evening? John, you got something? Good evening.
Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, as you know, it's rare for me to come down to the well. So first of all, hi, and thank you all. I know you all on an hour-to-hour, day-to-day, week-to-week existence spend tons of time. Everybody you see in the grocery store on Main Street or Mass Street is not always happy with what you do, and because of that work, I want to thank you all for the work you do. And I'm not down here on a big topic, but I did just happen to notice before the meeting the item on the city manager's agenda relating to the update on 920 Missouri Street. It's an item of which I'm interested in only because I live proximate to it, and I'm getting lots of calls from neighbors and stuff. And it's good to learn from the memo that it appears that something's being discussed that would be on track to meet the desires of the neighborhood input. I don't get all updates. Quite frankly, this thing's a moving target. I hear things differently from day to day, and evidently conversations have occurred at least yesterday or today that we're not aware of. But I do want to applaud that process. It's really unfortunate that that the parts of this community sometimes that we ought to be more proud of and save are sometimes under attack. As most of you know, I do serve on the Planning Commission, and I happen to also serve on the 4-person committee mentioned in the memo contained in the mayor's update, describing the creation of the Conservation Overlay District. You may typically hear referred to the design guideline updates. And that 4-person committee, 2 from the Planning Commission, 2 from HRC, has been working for 2 years?
Quite a while.
And we've probably had 14, 15 meetings. We're in advance right now, so second draft gets looked at. But I did notice that the Planning Commission just kind of dropped in a couple of features of the guidelines, one being that it's going to contain certain site and architectural design elements be present with any new construction, roof types, porches, window patterns, parking location. You know, I'm not an architect, so I've learned a lot in this process. I don't think anything's been harsh or difficult to comply with, and I think they are good design guidelines. But if you go back to the memo that the mayor provided you, some of this goes back to the history of the challenge we have north of the stadium. And the best way to say it, the question I want to leave you with is, do you really want to happen north of the stadium what's happened on Ohio, Tennessee, Kentucky? planning staff mentions this recommendation in the draft guidelines for a new housing type in the subject area. I just had to come down here and just mention that because I didn't want it to go unnoticed or unchallenged. That as the only person on the committee that actually lives in the Oria district, I know we have some residents that have some considerable questions about this recommendation. We think it may actually work to aggravate the abandonment by this area from residential owners and families. And so I just wanted to mention that to you, that it's not a done deal. The Committee of Four has not put its touch on it. The only day the Committee of Four even discussed this, I happen to be gone, and I know I'll be getting a lot of input from the community about that. And
John, you weren't here, but I did say 3 minutes.
okay,
Thank you.
sorry about that.
No,
That's
3
all.
minutes. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
We will look forward to all the information soon. And, oh, John, if you want an update from Scott tomorrow, contact him. There was an update on some additional information on the 920.
He's been very good about
Okay.
giving me input, so thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, and thank you for your work on the Planning Commission. Any other public comment?
Dan Dennenberg again. On November 5th and November 12th, there are going to be forums on the Horizon 2020 Comprehensive Plan. At each session, there are going to be 4 topics. And at neither of these sessions is there a topic related to neighborhoods. Neighborhoods are under assault by rental properties. Part of my job is to be an unpaid code enforcement staff member. If you look south of 19th Street, just east of Iowa, you will see a steady deterioration of that neighborhood. And it's mostly due to the influx of rental properties. There is a property on Sunset Drive which used to be a very nice building, a nice residence. It is slowly becoming a slum. There's a property on Century Drive that for years has been out of compliance with codes, according to what I can see. And the owner or whoever lives there has continually stuck the stick in the community's and the neighborhood's eye by not doing anything basically to remedy any situation. There's also a property on University Drive that was allowed, the owner was allowed to construct a adjacent building immediately south of the main residence. That building, in essence, blocks any access by first responders. They would have a fire department who wanted to get to the back of the building would really have trouble doing it around the south side of that residence. We have another weapon that has been deployed. It's called the UML, the unmowed lawn. And why is that such a big deal? Well, because I guess the city standard is 12 inches. That's too high. Ticks like tall grass. And that's just not my imagination. That's from the Douglas County Extension Office. We also have the situation of cars parked in yards. This has been a continuing problem, and it just adds to the blight and the deterioration of neighborhoods. We have a situation on the corner of 9th and Lawrence Avenue where that's really a problem. The grass has been worn down by cars parked there. And now, so I'll get off, Commissioner Farmer, so you don't have to keep looking at the clock. And this 3-minute rule is ridiculous.
Really? Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, thank you all for coming this evening. Future agenda items.
Mayor and Commissioners, we're not going to have any regular agenda items next week. We traditionally do not do that when we have an election night, so we'll just have consent agenda items. Then we'll be back November 11th.
Okay, thank you. Any commission items? Okay. Calendar.
I don't have anything to add. Hopefully you all see a number of items that you can hopefully attend to, particularly draw your attention to the Employee Service Awards there on November the 7th. I know elected official participation is appreciated.
Okay. And Dave, I did make mention last week about the Board of Trustees of the hospital. We're going to meet with them after the first of the year, correct?
Okay, yeah, I think that's the plan.
Okay. Well, we might want to do a follow-up just to make sure everybody's on the same page, and because we didn't declare the 18th specific, did we?
No, we did not. They know that we're not meeting with them on the 18th.
Okay, so we'll plan on after the first of the year, okay? Okay, any other calendar items? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and second to adjourn, made by Commissioner Shum, second by Vice Mayor Farmer. All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned. Thanks.